Hi everyone, this is Lisa from Stamp a Rainbow, and today I'm going to share with you how you can use a stencil to create this beautiful card. Stencils are an economical product to add to your craft supplies. They're very versatile, and I'm going to show you just one way that you can use them. This card is a no stamp card, which means exactly that. There's no stamping involved at all. This is a top folding card, so you're going to need some white cardstock cut at 11 by 4.5 and scored or folded at 5.5. You're also going to need another piece of white cardstock cut at 5.25 by 4. The first thing we're going to do is line up the stencil on the piece of 5.25 by 4-inch cardstock. Once I have it lined up how I want it, I'm going to use some purple tape to adhere the stencil to the piece of cardstock. Flip the whole thing over and tape all 4 sides. Purple tape is like painter's tape for card makers. Links to this and all of the other products that I'm using today are listed below. Once you have all 4 sides taped, flip it back over and we're ready to start some ink blending. I am using Tim Holtz Distressed Oxide inks for this card. The first color I'm using is fossilized amber. Grab a blending brush and start blending in the center of the paper. I always start light and then build to the level that I want. The next color is spun sugar. Get a clean brush and blend on the outer edge of the fossilized amber color. I sped this up, of course, but take your time blending. It isn't hard and it really doesn't have to be perfect. Then I'm using seedless preserves for the outer edge of the card. This is a darker color, so you need to use a lighter touch. You can use any colors you want, of course. I was trying to go for a tangled feel because of the dye I'm using, so that's the reason that I picked these colors. Once you get all the colors down, you can go back with each color to blend them until you get the look that you want. Just make sure you don't go overboard. You want to be able to see each color. Now it's time for the big reveal. Carefully pull off the tape from 1 or 2 sides and take a peek to make sure that you like the look. If you're satisfied, go ahead and remove the cardstock from the stencil. Now it's time for the die cut. I'm using the Best Day Ever die from Simon Says Stamp. It comes with the quote and the shadow die that goes behind the quote. I cut the shadow die 1 time and then I cut the quote 3 times with a die cutting machine out of some white cardstock. I cut the quote 3 times because I'm going to emboss 1 layer and I'm going to glue the 3 together to give it some lift on the card. The embossing powder that I'm using is Raven from Brutus Monroe, and as you can see, it's black embossing powder, but it has some really pretty sparkles in it. Because I'm embossing the actual shape, I'm going to take my Versamark ink and I'm going to press it down directly onto the cardstock. I'm going to emboss it half at a time so I have something to hold on to while I'm embossing. So once you get your Versamark on about half of the die, and it doesn't have to be exactly half, I'm going to go ahead and put the embossing powder over the die so I can get a good coat. Tap off the excess and grab your heating tool to heat the embossing powder so that it melts. When I did this side, I didn't grab a clothespin to hold onto the die, so as you can tell, I struggled a little bit. You can see the pretty color when I hold it next to this white cardstock. Now grab the Versamark and we're going to go ahead and ink the other side of the die. Don't worry if it's on top of the already embossed layer. It really doesn't matter. Sprinkle your embossing powder on that side, get it good and coated, and then tap off the excess. And now this time I remembered to get my clothespin. Clothespins are handy to hold little areas like this so you don't accidentally burn your fingers. Hold it with the clothespin, grab your heating tool, and then melt the other side. Repeat this entire process 2 more times so you have 3 layers of embossing powder on the die cut. It makes it look really pretty and shiny, as you can see here, and I like the look of all 3 of the layers together. Now we're going to glue all 3 of these die cuts together. I'm using Gina K Connect Glue. to do this. I recommend this glue because it dries clear and it's very easy to use. I'm putting the Gina K on one of the white layers. I'm not being too neat about it because the other white layer is going to go on top of it. So go ahead and put that layer down and then try to get the excess glue off of it. And next we're going to glue the die cut layer, the emboss layer, on top of the white layer. So on this one I'm being a little bit more careful because I don't want it to necessarily seep through onto the black layer. I try to get it on as much of the die as I can, at least focusing on the outer edges so that it'll stick well. Go ahead and put that all together, and then that's what it looks like. It's nice and sturdy and it has some depth to it. Now we're going to adhere this to the shadow layer. This one I didn't want any glue showing out, so I actually put a little spot to the side and then just used my glue to pick it up and cover the die cut so that I can glue it onto the shadow layer. Press it down. I had it upside down, so then press it down on there, and there you go. That's the completed die cut. Now we have both the background and the die cut complete, so we can go ahead and put our card together. I am using this Gina K tape runner. You could use any tape runner, or you could use the liquid glue if you want. And I'm going to adhere the stenciled cardstock to the card base. I'm going to press it down so that it's kind of in the middle, and then I'm just going to make sure that I have the card positioned the right way before I adhere the die cut to it. I'm going to put the die cut right in the center of the card, and for this I want to use the liquid glue because I want to make sure that I get the glue in all of those little areas, like the curves of the letters, and I want it to stick well. I don't want to just put a tape runner down the middle of it. So go ahead and put your glue all around the die cut, and then we're going to go ahead and put it on the center of the card. So just press it down there. And as you can see, by doing the 3 layers of embossing and the 3 layers of the die cut, it gives it some height. And then there you go, there's the completed card. I hope you enjoyed this card video, and I hope you learned something new. I'm linking to another card that I made with a stenciled background so you can get some other ideas. Please visit my blog, Stamp a Rainbow, for all of the measurements and product information and for more card ideas. Thank you so much for joining me.